Breaking the Code with Gabriella tells the story of a young girl who overcomes gender stereotypes in robotics, cementing herself as a role model for young women. The book includes science and engineering information, such as the design process and Java tutorials. As part of our initiative to empower young girls to pursue their interests in STEM, we are running the Breaking the Code with Gabriella Trailblazers in STEM speaker series, which explores the careers of women in science, technology, engineering, and math. The series aims to dispel gender stereotypes and aid young students in getting advice on how to pursue their own passions. Today, I'm here with Eloisa Carrasco, who's a rising senior studying electrical engineering at the University of Minnesota. She's interested in robotics and the applications of electrical engineering in the field. In the past, she was part of a FIRST Tech Challenge Robotics team during middle and high school and has continued that involvement as a mentor for Burnsville Robotics. Carrasco is also a research associate at the NASA Langley Research Center, as well as the president of the IEEE student chapter at the University of Minnesota. Now, could you give a brief introduction about yourself, anything about your journey in STEM, your future goals, or your current interests that you think are notable?
Oh, yeah. Hi, my name's Eloisa. I study electrical engineering at the University of Minnesota, and I'm also getting a minor in computer science. Um, when it comes to just like my journey in STEM, kind of always been there. I always kind of like I started out nerding over Star Wars and loving how futuristic that kind of world was. And kind of as I got into further into school and then I got into robotics, I thought it was cool because I wanted to make stuff like Star Wars. And I just like found enjoyment uh learning more about how to make things work and also just like building on my team building skills. And and then when it came to college, I wanted to go go into something related to robotics, which was electrical engineering for me. And currently, between my junior and senior year, I am repeating my internship at NASA Langley as part of the NASA Academy, where we're working on projects more related to aerospace, but I get to use electrical engineering and all the skills that I learned from robotics.
Oh, yeah, definitely. I know a lot of people, myself included, have gotten interested in STEM through robotics or competitions like First Tech Challenge or First Lego League. Um, I think it's very cool what you're doing right now with NASA. So I know that you're currently studying robotics and electrical engineering. Um, you talked a brief bit about like how you got into that because of robotics and Star Wars. Um, were there other extracurriculars that you did in high school, maybe similar to First Tech Challenge or outside of FTC that sparked your interest? Or was there some like maybe like a core memory you think, or like a core person really made you interested in the field?
Yeah. So I kind of have like two areas I attribute into going into STEM, what robotics being one of them, but also because my dad was the introduction to everything I nerd about, so like Star Wars, and then because he is also kind of a techie guy, he likes to bring home like he would bring home or like buy like latest technology, and so I kind of just had that home environment for me where I would always have like something to play with, or he would teach me how things work. And and also one of the things that helped out with robotics and then going into college was I took two PLTW classes while in high school, which were was really nice. I got a little bit of uh similar content, different structure, and came out with skills that I'm still using.
Yeah, definitely. I know PLTW, we have that at my school. I know a lot of schools have it. It's very, I think, a really great introduction to like engineering or like STEM, especially for high school students. So now currently as a college student, could you talk a little bit about like projects you're working on or maybe like just generally what your day-to-day um prod or work looks like as a student in electrical engineering?
Yeah. So going into my senior year, my my first semester is going to be a lot more technical electives, so I get to kind of dive into more like specific topics about the field that I want to do. One of them being a robot vision class, which I'm pretty excited about. Um, Kind of within school for, as mentioned earlier, I am part of the IEEE student chapter at UMN as the president, and some of the projects that I'm really hoping to do is get more hands-on experience for the ECE student body, whether or not it's kind of more breadboard to PCB prototyping and design, and also setting up events with employers in the field to help students network and also like build their careers.
Yeah, definitely. That sounds very exciting. So then kind of also outside of school, I know you're the research associate at the NASA Langley Research Center. So over the summer, what does your day-to-day look like working there? And if you can share, what maybe kind of projects are you involved in, or just generally, what work do you do there?
Yeah. So the my position at uh, NASA Langley is our program's called the NASA Academy, which is a program internship program that is different than their OSTEM internships, which is like their kind of main group of like their main program for summer interns. And we're a little more self-directed than OSTEM internships, so we kind of get to decide what our day-to-day looks like. Uh, right now, our projects are working with UAS, UAVs, so kind of like thinking drones, and there's various things uh that need to be kind of addressed with drones right now. One of the major things that you can see for research that NASA is doing is kind of a mix of like hardware and software with drones. Uh, One of the larger vision is kind of the flying car. Like if you think about like we want to do flying cars in the future, but we have to have like safer airspace, tracking all those vehicles in the air, kind of the way that kind of at the level that same level of security that we do for like commercial airspace. But we got to do that with even like smaller drones that you think about that like you might like see.
Okay, I see. Yeah, that very sounds very interesting. I'd love to dive into that in the future. And then, so obviously you're a college student right now. So far you've had quite a bit of experience in STEM, starting in robotics, in middle school, and now all the way to university. So throughout that journey so far, have there been any challenges you faced in as a woman in what I know is a very male-dominated field, and how have you overcome them?
Yeah, I I I kind of think that I have a interesting experience in that I kind of got lucky that I had like a very fostering environment, and so far not too hostile to me personally, because I had like a lot of people around. I was always surrounded by people that were interested in the same thing. But I but what came with that is that I get a lot of imposter syndrome. Sometimes I'm just like wondering how did I like can't like did I really deserve to be here? Like how much of it was like just because I know people. Uh, but like there's been still like small moments, but like one of the ways that I just kind of get through it is having a good support system, having good mentors around, especially with like working at NASA Langley is has been kind of like an eye-opening experience in terms of that, because there's so much history like at Langley specifically. If you've ever watched or heard about Hidden Figures, like the book and the movie that took place at NASA Langley, and like it was kind of mind-boggling how like coming here seeing how many women work at the center, like especially in like, positions of leadership and like engineering, and they all have like has given like very good advice, and it's like very heartwarming to hear like the kind of stories that they have.
Yeah, I definitely agree. I know imposter syndrome is a big thing, especially as you get into, like, like you said, more complicated or more like kind of intimidating experiences, like working at, say, NASA. And I think just as you get more into like your STEM journey or like your career path, it definitely only intensifies. So having like a good community built around like you yourself or like other students, I think is definitely very valuable even for myself. So for starting from a young age, kind of thinking about how young girls might get interested in robotics or get like, or not even just robotics, get interested in STEM in general or versus get like repelled by it. I know for girls like myself who've tried to join or have joined STEM extracurriculars in elementary school or middle school, it can be very intimidating to show up to meetings and be the only girl there. Like on my middle school first tech challenge or first Lego League team, I was the only girl there, and it was a good experience for me. But I know that not that can't be said for every girl who's the only one on her team. So, kind of building off that, with what kind of advice would you give to young girls who might be looking to get involved in engineering and robotics, even if it is like very male dominated, even from like elementary school?
I I would say like the number one thing is to just like not give up, not feel discouraged, and that's like kind of something that you'll hear a lot. But like that's really it. But you can't keep persisting by yourself. You do need support, and I think part of that is like with not giving up is that if you let's say that you do feel uncomfortable in a team that um always talk to your mentor, like try and seek advice. And if your mentor doesn't help, or if like you really feel uncomfortable, it's like talk to your parents too, like kind of like they can always like give you advice, give you encouragement. And if you really feel uncomfortable, then look for a team where you do feel comfortable. This is kind of something that I actually kind of watched firsthand because I was volunteering at an FLL scrimmage last weekend where there were like it was my first time at an FLL scrimmage, but like seeing some kids um like uh at judging, some of them feeling like I could see the dynamic running between some of those kids, and like some of them like you could tell got discouraged because like some kids were speaking over them, and like it was kind of like after the fact, like after judging, like some like one of my co-judges walked over and to talk to a student to be like, hey, because we kind of saw how uncomfortable it got, like hey, don't like you don't have to give up on robotics. Sometimes you just like, need to go find another team.
Yeah, definitely. I think a lot of times it shouldn't be that you give up on your passions or something you're really interested in just because of one negative experience, but instead being able to seek out other pathways to lead you, to where you want to be. So I know you've done First Tech Challenge in the past in middle and high school. So if you could describe it in one word, what would that be?
I okay, I was gonna go like eye-opening, which is hyphenated, but I think enlightening is also another like that's probably the best way to describe it because there it, it really like helped me in like multiple parts of my life, whether or not it was like general knowledge, but also just like help like kind of helping me as a person, like being more social, learning how to talk to people because that's part of the competition, especially with judging, is getting used to having to like kind of like bolster yourself, bolster your team, and like try to network with other teams to like get ahead in the competition.
Yeah, definitely. I think it's definitely been like throughout First Lego League and First Tech Challenge. One of the experiences that has made me very interested in STEM personally. So enlightening is definitely very fitting. For me, I also thought collaboration, because kind of like you said, having being able to work with others is who also share very similar goals, I think is very valuable. Do you have a favorite memory from your first tech challenge experience?
I I'm it sounds cheesy, but it was like really it was the specifically our so my junior year, our second tournament of the season was like at the end of the tournament we got to like first winning alliance and like made it to state for the first time. That it was just kind of like one of those like high emotional moments. And I am not one to really cry a lot in public. And that was like the one time that I like let myself cry in public because it was like our whole team was like so excited for that we kind of like got somewhere and made it to state for the first time.
Yeah, definitely. I know just every time you reach like a new milestone, it's very very rewarding because of like all the like hundreds of hours put in of work before that too, I think. Um, so I know you've currently continued your involvement with First Tech Challenge as a mentor for Burnsville Robotics. So what has really inspired you to continue being involved with First and also become a mentor?
I I really saw the value in like all the skills that it taught me, even just like going into school. I really enjoyed being there. And while as a student, we were still doing outreach, like teaching other kids, and then watching some of them like come into the program like closer to that time. And I wanted to keep it going. I wanted to keep our organization growing again. We're at a point where we're actually going to start the FLL team again, which I think is amazing. That means like I'm kind of like watching our work make an impact. And it's also fun too, just to like still be involved in the like kind of like seeing like seeing the different robots that come out every year. But like now I'm on this ever and trying to teach other people how to design a robot, and that's still it's still something. It's still a way that I'm learning. Like I'm still learning just as much as from my students as I am like like teaching, I guess.
Yeah, definitely. I know that a lot of times you might not even expect to be learning while you're um like being a mentor because that you kind of traditionally expect that as something the student gains. But so that's I feel like even like through tutoring myself, that's definitely something that really develops as you become a mentor. So are there any like other benefits that you think being a mentor has given you that you might not have thought about when you first started mentoring, or you might not have considered when you first began?
Yeah. I like some of the skills that I got from like as a student and going into mentoring or like stuff that really helps me right now, like working on my internship because like one one thing like for when I started mentoring was like trying to learn how to be patient both with myself and my students because you kind of forget how little you knew when you first started. And it was like trying to learn how to be patient. Like they're gonna move a little bit at a different pace because they're still learning. And then kind of the and then kind of like going into my internship, like a little bit of that patience, but also because I'm returning, I've taken on a little bit of a leadership role, like trying to organize people, like organize like tasks, and just having that experience of trying to organize tasks for my students is transferring over to like to the internship, kind of like organizing like the timeline of we got a deadline. Let's see how we can break this down.
Yeah, it definitely sounds like there's a lot of uses or like connections between the two, even though like your internship and mentoring, even though they might not really seem related at like at first glance. So then finally, you've come a long way since middle school. And if there was one piece of career-related advice you could give to your middle school self, what would it be and why?
I almost wish that I did more. Um, I because it was just robot like I did like basically just robotics, and then like I did like the only other extracurricular I did at the time was also track. I wish I did a little bit more because or just like maybe spent more of my free time doing a little bit more reading because as much as like I get to specialize in one thing, it helps me both like from a knowledge standpoint and also it's like generally like when like talking to other people to just like have a base understanding of like like a broader amount of things because then that like I don't have to spend as much of a learning curve. Like I wish I did a little bit more reading, did a little bit more outside of just robotics because it would have helped even more with the people skills.
Yeah, definitely. I think kind of expanding, even if it might not be like related to what you think you want to do in the future, kind of expanding and broadening like what you're involved in can definitely be very helpful. Well, thank you so much for speaking with me today.
Yeah, it was really nice talking to you again.
All right, thank you so much.